figure out how do we get on the same page about what issues do or do not exist, and then the next steps for getting them fixed if there are issues. So I think two pieces of information would be helpful. First, hearing from a few tenants about some of the issues that were raised. They were raised to me, but that would put us all on the same page. And then hearing from Serenity Management about those issues, and I'm also seeing from the information in front of me, there may be some financial issues with respect to outstanding balances. So we'll work through it. Does that work for everybody? Thanks. Ms. Hawkins, you want to start?
Yeah, so the tenants of this building are really concerned with the flooding that happens in the basement. Whenever there's rain, usually the water comes into the building. We've had open sewage leaks. There's constant sewage fumes. We don't have anywhere to park. And almost, it's a good portion of the tenants that complain about their residents being accurate or inaccurate.
Any other residents like to share any particularly serious or long-standing issues that you're having, or if you see it differently?
Yeah, my name is Alicia Bola. I live in B209, and I've been dealing with mold since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Any rodents?
rodents. That's been recently. But yeah, I've been dealing with those issues, and the draft in my windows. It's a constant talking to management or whoever's in the rent office at the time. A lot of turnovers have been happening, and it feel like I'm not getting anything done.
Yeah, I can second some of what Alicia just said. I think my primary concern, or what a lot of people's primary concern, might be the continuity or lack of continuity in management. We can have conversations with one person, and then the rest of management may not have known about it or may not have been relayed to. Aside from that, I think that the windows might just be an issue in general in this building. I've had issues from day one, and I was told that it couldn't be repaired because of the historical status of the building. And I'm not sure how true that is, but I don't think it's fair to the residents to be charged, regular rate rent and stuff like that with those types of issues. So not only is the draft a problem, but some of the placement of the windows are just awkwardly placed. I'm personally in a position where my window opens directly to a sidewalk, so somebody literally can walk and stick their head into my window. And these are just things that are just issues that may or may not be able to be evaded. I don't know, but aside from that, I think there's a lot of public area issues that seem to be miraculously being repaired.
I love that word. I love that word, miraculously.
Honestly, I haven't experienced any rodents or any mold. I live on the property business since the beginning of time. Maybe because I live up on the top floor, possibly.
I live on the top floor.
Yeah, but I just haven't. I'm just saying because I just haven't experienced, having rodents or anything.
So, let me turn to Serenity on those issues and then other issues that maybe haven't come up a little bit for you all.
So I think, hi, I'm Jill. It's nice to meet everyone. So I think it probably, from a management standpoint, so probably a little history of what's happened, kind of where we are today, and to answer some of the questions kind of in general, and then talk about what some issues are really happening. So this project, as you know, used to be the old St. East Hospital, and so it was turned into apartments. And of course, that's really, really exciting that happened, but at the same time, as everyone knows, can also create some challenges. The first thing I want to talk about is the windows. And so that is correct. Can everyone hear me? I'm kind of a little hoarse. I was yelling at my husband all weekend, so that's what happened. But with the windows, those are historic windows. And during the development stage and the construction stage specifically, I'm going to scoot back a little bit, of the windows, those windows were required that we left those windows in place. The building I know is here, and I think people can confirm that, to be able to say, yes, those are the windows that we had to maintain and we had to keep them in place for that. So those windows, and this is per yes actually, right? This was the developer and the construction that did that at that particular time. However, and the placement of the windows, those can't be changed either. Those are part of the historical state of the building, and so we can't really change the location of that. That doesn't mean, though, that we can't look at and talk about if something's drafty, if something's not working, that we can have a look specifically for that four-year window. So that's something that before we leave here today, I'd love to get your address and make sure that I know so I can come in and look at it, and we can have a try to figure out kind of what is happening for the windows. But that kind of addresses the window issue.
Go ahead.
With
Speak up.
Excuse me. As far as the apartments with the big bay with like the big windows,
Yeah.
oh, those were changed.
Those were changed, and we were allowed to change some windows if they met so much of the percentage of our building.
Okay.
So much of the building had to stay with its historical nature. It's part of the tax credits that were received on the property, and then there are some that ways to allow egress or those types of different outs that windows could have been.
But those are the
added.
windows that I'm having problems.
That's the window you're having problems with, or the ones that got added? Perfect. So here's what, same thing, I'd love to get that, to have a.
Let me just add really quick, I've also, Councilmember, had two contractors come out to look at the windows, to provide them with a bid to see what type of fix can be done to the two types of windows that are in this building. So we're just waiting for the response from the contractor.
Okay, you're welcome.
On these types of windows?
On both.
Okay.
There are some that are newer and new that were put in with part of the construction, and then there are some that were rehabbed with the existence of the building.
And the frame of the window can be changed, but it is the draft because of the thickness of the glass, or is it because of space along the?
They're not weatherproof at all. I'm sorry to interrupt. They're not weatherproof at all. So literally, my window rocks back and forth, so it's open. It's wide open on the sides. You know, obviously no screen, no burglar bars, etc.
And so,
And none of us have double windows, so we will have the historic windows, but we also have like the modern windows, you know,
I see.
pressed up against the historic windows. And it's still very.
And I think you're exactly right. Unfortunately, that's the way the building was designed, right? With the historical nature. So that is a historical with those windows. But as we said, they're looking at
The solution to see what can be done. They came out to look at the draft, and we brought out two separate.
How long you been complaining about your windows to them? And how long is that? 2019.
The different
How
types
long
of
have you
windows,
had
the different
windows?
styles.
How long you been
We have a
complaining
running
about your
list of
windows?
residents who have reported
Thanks.
the different
And if they
aspects.
want.
if you all want to look at those and check those out.
Yes. Many of which we've already taken a look at. It's just a matter of receiving the quote back, so then we can take action.
Council member.
Sorry, I don't want to get off her.
I would like you to know that tenant to my left has been complaining since 2019 about this very issue, and the tenant to my right has been complaining since 2023. I'm happy to hear that the estimates have gone out, but the fact that they've had to wait so long for that to happen may lend way to the fact that your visit is here today, and I don't want that to be overlooked.
Right, and I want to thank everyone for coming out, because we've been trying to get our issues abated, we've been trying to be cohesive with property management, we've been met with prayer and discouragement from organizing. I've gotten several messages, supposed to be from property management, that comes to the attorney to stop organizing my tenants.
Violation.
Yeah, most of the tenants don't go business hours right now. But most people are very retaliation in the form of having to measure your rent increase without any sort of notice, not having your issues abated. It's a lot more forward to the culture of management.
I'm sorry, I felt like I had Jill cut it short when I came in with the window, so.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask Jill to continue because everybody sort of listed the issues, and then we'll go back to address any clarifications. And then here's my recommendation after that. This is you all's home, right? And so you're gonna feel a certain way, as you should. And if you feel like you've been raising these issues for years, they haven't been addressing this, going to be more frustration. What I want to do, my thought is that the priority is getting things fixed. And what I'm trying to avoid, but I want to take my cue from residents, is putting anybody in a defensive posture. So my suggestion is, if we got everybody who's necessary to improve things in this room right now. We'll work toward progress. We will be in contact, and so if things fall off, if they don't get done, then we'll address that. But my expectation is that when we leave here, we're going to have an action plan for getting things fixed and addressed and looked at in a timely manner. So,
Part of this is, I was here at the beginning, so clearly there's a lot of things that have changed. A lot of restrictions put on us by historic regulations. We could not make any changes from. Now, the result is that we're seeing the experiences of those limitations that are now having a great impact on quality of life and our energy. And so now there are at least some people beginning to look at what we can do to make some modifications to that. And I've got to agree, as you know, we started this project, we were told absolutely no, we couldn't make these adjustments. We want to make these adjustments, we were told we could not. Also, to Serenity, they only came on board in November 23 before we had a company out in Indiana who had no relationship to our community. The difficulty for me as a minority owner of a major project like this is that major financiers are not going to look at me the same way they look at my project. They don't look like me. And so it took me almost 2.5, 3 years before I could get them to allow me to change the management. So part of our problem is that we didn't have local relationships. People were just parachuted in from other places. So it took me almost 3 years to convince the financiers and the lenders to allow me as a GP to bring local management into the fold. So we brought Serenity into the fold in late November. But at that point, we had several years of bad relationships, and plus you had COVID that hit. And so we have been operating going backwards. Let me just be very candid with everybody in this room. We do not want anyone to be living in a subpar scenario. I mean, I personally, myself, would come over here on the weekend and pick up trash with the maintenance guy, with Nate and his team, because we couldn't get local people here because it was in Indiana.
So let me do this. I hear you loud and clear. I think your point is similar to mine. We're going to assume best intentions, and we're going to work toward resolution. So I appreciate you saying that piece. I would really like to get back to Jill, because if we just go into discussion, I don't think we're going to get to the end
Well,
point.
I think it's important, not discussion, because it's about the money.
But
Right now,
let's start with the issues. I don't want to talk about money and residents feel like we're jumping over their issues. So I hear you, and I promise we're going to get to that. And I said at the beginning the order we were going to go in, so we're going to get to it. Jill.
And then I just wanted to get more clarification or talk a little bit too about flooding. So there has been some issues with regards, as everyone knows, with flooding. Part of that was drainage from the building, with the way that the drainage actually was coming into the building. Serenity and the team have worked to get that resolved. The other big thing when you talk about sewage that we have had a tremendous issue with, and I'm so glad tenant council's here, that maybe we can try and get some additional help, is that we are getting backups on a regular basis. And the reason for that is because inappropriate or things that don't belong in toilets are going into toilets. And what I mean by that is cell phones, clothes, socks, specific items that I've actually dealt with the contractors to be able to say, okay, how can we do this? The way the building is set up, which is a little bit different than a typical apartment community that gets built, is that the drains are typically lined up on top of each other. You can easily identify who is creating the problem. Because of the way this building was, and it was a hospital, it runs as like a finger system. And so unfortunately, it all goes into one particular area as the finger system starts to work. So we as management cannot determine, and this is what I was so glad to be meeting today with the tenant association, because I think we need to help re-educate what can actually go down and do that. We can see that after about 55 feet, that is where the block tends to start to create the problem. And so then we have to go and we have to get it and we have to aug it out and we have to get all of that stuff out. But at that particular point, it's far enough down that I can't tell specifically which apartment is putting the baby wipes down there that aren't supposed to be going down there. Putting the toys down there that aren't supposed to go in the toilets and that are creating those clogs and those backups. So there's actually two problems. We have that particular problem, and what happens is that gets down into the pumps and it actually breaks those and you're unable to get, you have to have a replacement. In 2024, just so you know, we had 10 major backups from items that were in toilets or in the clogged system. That affects every resident depending on where the finger system happens, right? So those residents in that particular line then end up with the backup of what's happening. In addition to that, we also had a problem with a pump as well. That was an ongoing problem that we were able to actually get repaired in late of 2024. And since that time, we have not had any of those backups occurring for that building. We are still having, since 2025, since January, we have had 2 backups. And again, those things included items that are not really toilet-related items.
I have a question.
Yes. Of course. No, you're fine.
I've been here since they opened in
Okay.
2019.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard about flooding until they changed the toilets to the new low-flow toilets. And that's when I heard about the flooding. Also, does it have anything to do with the old piping system that's in the building? Because everyone's not throwing cell phones in the toilet.
Yeah, but the problem is, the problem is because of the way the system fingers into one area. So you're exactly correct that not everybody is doing that, but there's enough being put into there that is what's creating it to stop up or to get clogged in there. But you think that the problem is that the reason why there's backups is because the toilets are low flow?
Yeah. The low-flow toilets, yeah, because I was here 2019. The new toilets came in, I think, about 2021, 2022.
Okay.
And
so since then, you could start to see that there was an issue.
And then the sewer smell was just like fumigating.
That was part of that pump that I think they got repaired. That did create that smell. Okay, so that's interesting to hear that you said you've been here since 2019. You didn't have the problem beforehand. After the toilets came in, the low flow.
No, I didn't have any problems because I'm on the top floor.
Okay.
But I've heard about the situation.
Oh, you've
with
heard.
the flooding.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
the flooding in the basement. Yeah.
Okay. Then you also indicated that you had mold in your apartment.
My ceiling. Yeah.
In your ceiling? And where exactly in your ceiling do you
It's
have?
in the common hallway, in the hallway.
In the common, not in your
Yeah.
apartment, but in the hallway.
No.
Okay.
In my hallway, between the hallway and my living room area. Yes.
Okay, all right, that's where you're seeing mold. All right, and do you mind sharing your unit?
E209.
Okay, we're gonna have a look at that.
Have you reported
And
this?
see.
Yes.
How do you report something like
At
that?
first it was by mouth, word of mouth, and then I started putting to consent.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can actually, we can go, I have my inspector too, we're willing to come to your unit today.
Okay.
I'd
I mean, it's
like
pretty
to
long,
just mention to everyone that this issue has already been brought to management's attention. I believe DOE has already been to the unit. We've also had a certified mold inspection company come out to identify, and now the remediation has also been scheduled. We've offered relocation.
For
however-
when? Because I never received
What haven't you received?
the remediation date.
So it was just confirmed on Friday. So I know.
I talked to my lawyer on Friday.
You've spoken with your attorney?
And she said there's no remediation. None.
Yeah, no,
It was
they-
confirmed on Friday, so, hopefully we should get something today, Ms. Butler.
And with Ms. Bowler, she does have an attorney representing her, and so those communications have been going through the attorney initially. There was tenant correspondence, however, there was some, I guess, miscommunications, the attorneys got involved, and so that's where we are. However, I just want to be clear that we are aware of this situation.
Okay, can I get what's your first
You need the
name?
DOE. Alicia, ALESHEA, BOLLER, B209
BOLL.
ER.
Okay.
Telephone number
Mm-hmm.
771-219-7584.
Before you proceed, Jill, I would like to clarify that Serenity began management November of 2023. And so what we inherited and what we walked into these some of these conditions, there are pictures, data, to prove, the change and the transition that has happened. I won't go into too many details because we'll be sitting here all day if I have to revisit that. But I have quite a few printouts if anyone would like to take a look. And then I also want to be clear that we have not implemented any rent increases. And so we've sent out several notices explaining this to the tenants. We've spoken to several tenants about it. In fact, we have had to back out several increases that were put into the system by prior management. And so we have not implemented any rent increases. And then, yes, that. And then before you get back to you, I'm taking notes as we go along, but I do want to say when we speak about
don't worry about it. That's what you want. When they go on
too much there, but I do want to say that there was a major lack of
You want
accountability
this.
before
You
we
want
started. No accountability for rent, unpaid. No
They're gonna
accountability
say you're
for
not paying
past recertifications. No accountability for improper disposal of trash. We're finding trash in the hallways, trash, bags just scattered all around the building, which also contributes to rodents. And so, yeah, I just want to be clear. We're open book. Yvette and I are personally here on a day-to-day basis to meet with tenants, to address any issues. There have been some staffing changes, which unfortunately is the name of the game in property management. Also, at a property that is not an easy one. This is a challenging property. And so until we do find the right staff, we're going to, continue to change. And sometimes change is needed, as it was when we arrived.
The name of the game should be.
You said it's a challenging property. What makes this
I'm
problem
sorry,
challenging?
we're gonna get into the details of all these things in a moment. I wanna allow them, if you don't mind, sir, to finish going through the issues that were raised, and then we'll have some discussion with you again to the root of those things.
I think we've hit most of, I did flooding of the basements, open sewage leaks, there's nowhere to parking, and of course there's only so many parking spots that the property was allowed to have when it was designed. So parking is something we can look at to say, hey, you know what, maybe it's another way to get guests to park someplace else, that everyone has a spot. Ledgers, if anyone has a question, I think that is something that since we've been here with Serenity, that ledgers have been gone through, we've looked at. We do have, as Stan started to talk about a few moments ago, we have a huge delinquency. So for residents who are not paying their rent, we have a large issue with that. And again, accountability has been a big thing. So the previous management not sending out letters, not communicating with residents, that has really been taken really a focus to try to get residents back on track. Everything from offering payment plans to working to different programs that are available. But at some point, right, we have to have residents paying their portion of the rent and paying their rent as well. But we are happy to discuss if anyone ever had a ledger issue or has a question, we can show specifically how rent was charged, when it was paid, and how it's come in. So we can see those kinds of things. Rodents, I think you just talked about, but we also do have pest control for the property. And so if there is an issue, if there is a problem, we can also look at that and address that if someone specifically is having as an issue.
Yeah, we've actually increased the pest control frequency. Previously, I believe it was being done once every 2 weeks. It's now being done weekly for both rodents as well as other pests, roaches, and things like that. We've also increased the bulk trash pickup as well as the regular trash pickup.
And then I know before we drill down a bit and talk about next steps, so I got this information as I came in, rent delinquency, and Mr. Jackson, you started to talk about that. Jill, you mentioned it. Is there more you can say here, Mr. Jackson?
Well, no, I think that's it. I mean, obviously, without resources, it's hard to continue to maintain the bill, continue to pay vendors on time. One of the issues when we walked in here, we had $500,000 in unpaid payrolls to vendors, so we had to find new vendors that would be workers. Vendors would not be workers because they hadn't been paid. So, and I think that's sort of the rub for me is that, when we finally got control of the asset, we can manage it locally. We were in a very bad situation, and it's been very difficult to come out of this situation because all of this occurred post-COVID. And as you remember in that period, there was a moratorium on evictions, and so we got, for example, we've got, just 15 delinquent taxpayers that owe us over $457,000. They'll never pay it. I know that. But there's nothing we can do at this point because we couldn't evict them. So they're occupying space. We're not collecting rent. So it's hard for us to do all the things that our tenants want to do, all the things we want to do for a tenant. For example, we repaired the parking garage 15 times, 13 times, I think, since January. We keep breaking it, we don't have that kind of cash flow. And the problem now that we have is that the vendors who would work with us before are pushing back because they want a guaranteed payment. And unfortunately, when we finally got possession of this asset, my partners had already blown through the reserves, so we had no reserves to maintain the asset. So we got to now build up reserves as we try to collect current rent, as we try to do all the things that's necessary to create a quality of life.
You don't want the narrative to be, I'm not paying rent, and that's why they can't do the repairs. If y'all don't agree, speak up. That's what I'm here for.
A flagship opportunity.
I appreciate you saying that. So here's what I want to highlight. I want to offer a little more opportunity for discussion. Something that can't be lost on any of us is that we're not talking about a building, we're talking about people's homes, right? People live here. If you live in a place that is your home, you take pride in it. If you feel like there are issues that linger, you're going to be frustrated. Some of them may predate the management company, some of them may be tied to rent delinquencies. But if you live somewhere, you're going to have feelings about, how it looks, how it operates, how people respond. And so, I try to make sure I always remember that when we are talking about people's homes. The other issue that all of us is just a fact. It doesn't really matter how we feel about it. If a lot of people aren't paying rent, it gets harder to impossible to make repairs, to make upgrades. Like housing is an ecosystem. People pay rent. The expectation is the housing is going to be good. But it doesn't work if only one side is doing it. And that's just a fact. And so I don't think we're here to dispute the fact. What I want us to think about as we move into clarifying and digging into more issues for a little bit is I want to make sure we focus on the goal. I'm all about strategy. When I decide like I'm trying to get something done, I'm trying to get that thing done, right? So I think the goal here is to make sure management is good, the conditions of the property are good, and that folks are responsive, and that rents aren't going up, particularly without it being clear to us why it's going up. So if that's the goal, I want our comments to be goal-oriented, because things are probably from residents' perspective and management perspective right now, not the optimal place, not where we want it. But this building is going to be here 5 years from now, and 10 years from now. The question is, what it's going to be like, the condition of the building, how the relationship between management and residents. And so that's what we got to be thinking. Again, it's easier for me because I'm not dealing with this every day. I didn't walk into this room with years of frustration, so it's a little easier for me, and I recognize that. But I want to make sure if I'm here as a council member, that when I leave here, things are better for you. So that's why I'm trying to push us to goals. Again, for me, it's easier to assume good intentions. Like, if we leave here and they say, I'm going to look at the issues and we're going to clarify these issues and we're going to talk to residents, well, we're going to continue to be in contact. So they don't want to hear back from me. I don't want them to hear back from me. And I certainly don't want anybody saying, Councilmember Robert White came and nothing, got better. So as I see it, we all on the same team, and I'm trying to get us to a position where going forward, things are good, where you feel like management is being responsive. They're saying they're going to be responsive to the extent we need. Department of Energy Environment, Department of Buildings, my office, the Chairman Mendelson's office. He would be here, not for this press conference about the city's budget. The Ward 8 council staff, our commissioners. So I just suggest even if frustrations come out, let's not dwell on the frustrations. Let's be action oriented. Let's make sure with all the issues that are outstanding, we know what the next steps are. So with the windows, they've requested quotes. Jill has said any windows that they haven't looked at that had drafts, they're gonna look at. With the flooding issue, management has said they're going to work with the tenant association about how to communicate better with residents to make sure the types of issues that are causing the flooding aren't flooded. With the mold issue, something's already been scheduled. So again, these are things that if they don't happen, we all sit here in the same room. Folks said they were going to happen. If they don't happen, then we escalate. But right now, let's get the next step scheduled and work together.
Recommend that while we have DOE out here to look at areas that people may suspect that there's mold while we have them on site. Is that possible? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we can do that. That's why I want my inspectors here.
Thank you.
Can I just echo your sentiment, and thank you for being here, Councilmember. I really appreciate it. I'm a tenant advocate. And I just want to give a quick background that myself and the tenant association are representative from the association. Met with Mr. Stanley Jackson and management a year ago, and I just want to echo that I would love to move forward. I'm not a resident here, but residents have received retaliation just for talking with me, as far as I know, and being part of the tenant association. And this is something that is a very serious matter. This is illegal to do. So I feel like I can speak up. The reason for the flooding is not just tenant-related issues. These were the same things that we heard a year ago, almost exactly. And none of these explanations explain why ABC owes over $48,000 in DOB fines. DOB would not fine this building for things that...
Let me pause for a second. This is going to move in a direction, you can have that conversation with them, but this is going to move in a direction that I think is not beneficial for this meeting.
What I want to say is that HCD is giving money to ABC this year to approve for up to $4 million. And that's not going to be enough to fix the issues on the building. And the foundation on the building needs to be addressed. It is the reason why there is flooding. It is not because people are flushing things out the toilet.
They have submitted an application. It has not been approved. So it's the hope that it will be approved so they can fix some of the issues, but it has not been. But it has been submitted.
We would like to work with the ownership and management to actually petition the city for the funds to abate the issues in the building, which, but the basement specifically, it needs to be waterproof. That's $1,700 more than likely. So as separate entities, we've been trying to work together to, you know, see if we can ask for the funds from the housing trust. But again, we're moving forward.
Yeah, if we can refrain from stating that there's been retaliation, because that's hearsay.
Refrain from that. When I be saying personally myself, I'm speaking for myself. It's not.
I think it's not appropriate for you
told us
to say that, but if we can move forward, I think that would
Yeah.
All right.
Then
We're
stop
gonna
doing
resolve the issues, and the point of this is to resolve. Yes.
Yeah, so in the vein of moving forward, I just wanted to speak on like, if we're gonna bring it to a ground level in terms of like meeting each other halfway or whatever the case is, and we have to be real about the consistent problems. And what I'm talking about is like, okay, if management took over in November 2023, right? And there's gaping holes in the walls for 8 months over the course of before 2023 into 2024. I'm just as an example, right? And this is happening all through the hallways, and you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that any particular person is dropping the ball, but it's a system thing, or maybe it's a maintenance staffing issue, or I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not enough people to manage the whole building. But realistically, if plumbing issues have been going on for a couple of years at a time, if you know all these other things that are like long-standing problems that have to take millions of dollars to be fixed, that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that people owe rent, that's another thing. You know, but those are not relevant to the fact that there's issues that I can walk past every single day for a year and look right at a hole through a wall. You know what I'm saying? So that speaks to a different systematic issue. It's not just what the tenants are doing and not paying rent, and it's not just, you know, management just not doing their job, but it's somewhere along the line, people are not seeing what's going on the ground when you walk through the hallways of the building. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but whether it's retaliatory or not, there's no reason why, if I apply and receive ERAP, and a year and a half later, what was approved and paid through ACH payment from ERAP to, you know, management, why is that payment not received or not on the ledger? People's ERAP payments are being intercepted by staff. Like these are issues that, from the top, of course, they're going to be like, oh well, we got to do this. You know, I understand that there's systematic ways of fixing things, but on the ground level, we're not seeing it because, you know, even staff is corrupt. And that's just real. I mean, I can't speak on what's happened since y'all came to management, but realistically, that's really messed up. You know what I'm saying? As a tenant, you know, I move in, I find out, okay, boom, we can't fix the windows. All right, so I got to deal with this draft. Cool. Then I find out, dang, when I open my windows, little kids are trying to climb on my window. I talk to somebody, that's a problem. And I'm not trying to go back and, you know, rehash all of that, but I'm just trying to say that we're not really being real about the fact that there's stuff that's not being fixed in the building. That's just real. It's like over long periods of time. It's not being fixed. The joint on top, when I first moved in, when I walked in my hallway, there was a huge hole right above the hallway by the door leading out from the front of my unit. That hole was there for at least a year. You know what I'm saying? There's things that in the building have been messed up for at least the past year that just got fixed today.
Yeah.
For real. Like, since I walked
Imagine
in.
that.
So with the hole in the ceiling, how did you report that?
So these are things that I spoke to management about because
Okay.
so when you go into the maintenance portal or whatever,
Yeah.
there's no option to say that there's a hole in the hallway ceiling.
Okay.
So I go to management, and this is when I first moved in.
Yeah.
These are issues that I checked off when I first moved in and said these are problems. Not to mention, you know, the rotten egg smell in my unit when I moved in. You know, these are things that I know are plumbing issues, but they get fixed and then they're broken again. You know what I'm saying? And so over a long period of time, and again, this is not personal to anybody, but I'm just hearing something that don't add up to what's actually happening in the building.
So
what I'm
what you-
hearing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What you're saying is somewhat similar to what Alicia said. I think the ticketing system may require some attention. And if it would be possible to work with a couple of folks like Alicia and what's your name?
David.
Or tickets magically closed and not done. No repairs have been done.
So listen,
Yeah.
I started with sewage in February of 2024. I was just transferred in February of 2025.
Exactly.
I hear you.
When we're speaking on, and I just want to say, because again, you know, we're here to definitely help and address any issues that the tenants are bringing to us for a better relationship moving forward. Each household has a unique situation, and so without divulging too much personal details for Ms. Hawkins, that situation has been ongoing since December of 2023. We've had DOB involved. There are several emails to prove and testify that we have initiated, tried to initiate several transfers, to which the units were denied.
I had to sit here in housing conditions for 4 years.
There
Like,
are
don't
emails
say like you were working on it. You let me in there doing 4 years.
DOB has emails to prove that she denied
I
the
found
unit.
black mold and mushrooms. They're trying to figure out why my son been coughing for 3 years. Why my daughter has nosebleed every night. Don't minimize my experience.
That's right.
So I believe there have been plenty of issues, right?
So going forward, can we have cohesiveness instead of being met with retaliation and
It goes
prayer?
both ways. It goes both ways, Ms. Hawkins.
What do you mean? Those are like your customer service. You work for me. You're supposed to provide a tenable unit. What are you talking about?
Here's what I would say. We can't go back.
I'm
about to go get that letter.
7 or 8 property managers since they've been here. I mean, it's been a lot. It's been more than 5 years.
And Mr. White, while we're talking about housing conditions, what I don't want to go unnoticed is that we haven't helped management understand the mental health implications when you leave someone festering in housing code violations for over a year. Regardless of what the issues are, there are issues that you can't see many times, and they should still be understanding the liability of that. It's very traumatic for families to live in these conditions long term. So when you talk about moving forward, let's talk about adopting the understanding that if these issues are left to fester, then the mental health implications are very important and should not be dismissed. And that's when we're getting the phone calls, and that's a problem.
So there's obviously a lot of frustration. We cannot move backwards.
That's right.
I want to make sure we move forward in a way that works for the residents of the building. What I'm hearing from Serenity is that you all want the same thing. So here's what I'm going to ask. Again, can't undo what's been done.
Right, so we can go forward, but we're not gonna forget what happened. We're gonna go forward, we can work on reestablishing trust or whatever with cohesiveness that we never had and been trying to get. But we're not gonna negate our experience. It has not been fun, it's been colorful.
Yeah.
And that's,
I hear you on that.
And we don't want you
so
to.
that's.
And that's really important, because as you're residents, you're not tenants, and I keep hearing that word thrown around. You all are residents, not tenants. And so if we have not done something well, let me just be the first to say, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
The very first thing we can do now today is to take the right steps to correct what has not been, I haven't been here all the time, right? Maybe hasn't been done well. We can always do better. You're right, I have children and grandchildren. The most important thing we can do is raise our babies. And we need to right now stop with what has happened, and again, I'm sorry. And we will work with our residents, not our tenants, to start to get to what's wrong. We will be open and transparent. If there's something that's happening with water intrusion, if there's something that's happening with your windows, it looks like to me, part of what we have not done well on is had good communication or let you all know what's going on. So that is my promise sitting here today, that we are going to do that. Is it going to take a little time? Yes, it is. But you do have our promise that we will do what we need to do to make sure that you, as a resident, enjoy your place you call home.
So I just want to echo what the councilman said about the ticketing system.
Yes.
And then it also may be that it needs to have some type of response time, that it's gonna require to, once you look at it, it'll require that the repairs will be done in a certain.
So I'll go back through the ticketing system, because the way the ticketing system should work is that you should be able to get on as a resident and be able to log into that. In addition to that, if we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing as well as management, which sometimes we don't, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, there should be an update or information in there that you can also see what the process is happening, so that way it's an open situation for that. So I think what I'm hearing today is that we probably need to do a better job, again, about getting out some information, reminding our residents how they can put in a work order or a service request, and how that actually looks to make sure that it's happening as it should be.
And also making sure we're working with a couple of residents, they have the ability to.
That's right. That's exactly correct. Yes.
So, no, I would just like to say, along the lines of that, I've been here since 21, and my issues started before serenity management. I still have some issues that I like to speak of, but it's a lot longer conversation than we have right now. But in the terms of coming up with solutions, I think that, number one, indoctrinate or any other understanding. First of all, the building size is understaffed and inadequately staffed. I've worked downtown near the Capitol for some engineers that were overly qualified for the position. And it seems like a building of this size, the DC government has facility maintenance engineers that have all of the trades under their belt, that are able to walk through the buildings and see an issue, understand the issue, and then translate the issue to everybody else. Why don't we have an engineer of that caliber here, or someone from the city that is assigned to come through every so often to walk through the building and understands all of the systems that make up the building, that are able to put people in place to give Nate and the other guys some direction to assist them in doing their job better. I don't think that'll be a hard fix. The parking lots, you say you fix the parking lots 15 times. Would it be time to examine a different system? My idea would be the trough sliding gate, because it would be deep enough into the ground that they wouldn't be able to push it or pull it. And then, you know what I'm saying, you would have some leeway instead of keep repairing the gate whose design that obviously does not work. And I have some ideas for a whole bunch of other issues, but if we're really going to fix it, first of all, we need to support them with the proper people here to come through and see everything that's going on. I done been with the DOB, the DOES, the DD this, the DD that, you understand what I'm saying? I done heard things that have been inaccurate, I've done all that. But one simple solution would be a facilities maintenance engineer from the city to come through. I've been saying this since the problem happened over at Marbury Plaza when the people was damn near about to die in the building. The city has the city has people that can come through and do this. So why aren't we doing this?
Well, we are doing that. We're doing that both with the ACP and we're doing it also with the House of Finances. We have engineers who are actually coming through on a routine basis. I reached out to them and asked them to start doing it on the long-term. This facility, they do that. So the challenge is, once again, there's a lot of things that are popping up here post that experience. And so to your point, that's exactly what we did. Is went out to local folks with this experience and asked them to come to the building, because we knew that this was a reimagination of a historical hospital structure, and so everything about the building is different in terms of its usage. And so, to your point, we have engineers from the Department of Housing, the community development comes over. Have engineers that comes over from Housing Finance Agency. I reached out to Brian Hamlin, who runs DOB, and I've asked him to have his engineers come over. So we're doing all of these things, and part of it is to know what we don't know about this building. And what's coming up is exactly a lot of things that you're talking about. The challenge that we're having right now is being able to get the resources to commit to do all the things that have to be done. So it's taking much more time than we hoped it would be in order to get these things done. But I agree with you 1,000%.
And like I said, it's a longer conversation. I'm not gonna, bore everybody with a bunch of details. And I do have some other things to say. Like I said, my issue with the flooding started prior to Serenity coming. And I don't, but like everyone says, if I'm hired for a new position that somebody else messed up and I'm hired to fix that position, and then I'm in that position for quite a while, now it's my responsibility. So although they inherit some of these responsibilities, it's been long enough to understand and start to communicate in a better way. But to what I understand, we're gonna have more conversations about it. So I will speak about the flood, because I was in the flood for 4 days. I was vacuuming up feces, water, and everything for 4 days. I should have went to the hospital. I laid in the bed sick after that for 4 days. You understand what I'm saying? I got kids in it. That flooded my whole apartment. And I wasn't just going to leave and just allow it to keep flooding. And then the other thing is the other units down there, whenever they run water, flush the toilet, do anything, I'm running around beating on people's doors, telling them stop doing everything because it's coming back up in my house.
You in the basement?
Yeah.
When was the last time it flooded?
So I had a recent incident a couple of weeks ago, but it was very small. We got in front of it. The plumbers had given me some cues of what to listen to and look for. So once I started to notice the toilets giving those sounds off again, I rushed the neighbor, whatever, they pulled me away, got the guys out here. It didn't happen. But the most recent serious flood, I want to say, was February of last year. But recently, and like I said, they got to it. I had to run and make sure we got to it because there's a sound that the plumber asked us to listen for. Started hearing that. My daughter woke up. She saw the flooding. Got the guys to bring me in there, drive back, and they got the plumbers here. But, my whole unit has been flooded. My concern with the water is under the baseboards and under the walls, all of the mold, and because of the feces and other things in there, what grows up under it, what's under it? And then I've had an experience like y'all want to know about the waterproofing. It doesn't happen to me in particular. The unit she was in, it happened a lot more. But the walls, I'm halfway under the ground, and when the walls get saturated, you can see it coming in some areas from the outside.
But is this some DOE can look at? Have they been to?
They've been to my unit. They've been. I can't say proactive or reactive because it's been so long that we've been dealing with this. I've communicated with them, and they've done what I feel like. I guess they need oversight. Other people. But the problem is that it feels like instead of getting the problem solved, when I said about the engineer, like going through the whole pipe and see what's going on with the pipes and running the boring cameras and really seeing what's going on so you'll know where the issue's at. It seems like you send a plumber out and the plumber can't unclog it, but the real issue that's going on with it, I understand it's an old building. It might be 8-inch pipes and that's feeding into a 20-inch pipe.
Can I ask DOP, what is DOP's role in trying to figure out if they're...
They don't look into.
So, someone did mention,
Good job.
we can do proactive inspections. Proactive inspections are done every 2 years if a building has issues. That's something that we can do. We haven't done a proactive inspection in this building, but we have responded to various complaints and we've said the pipe regular correct the permission. In regards to the pipe, that's something that I will go back and talk to our construction team to look at the plans to see if there's any issues with the pipe.
Can you include my office in the follow-up just so we're all on the same page?
Because I feel like if there's a real understanding of what the plumbing schematic is and what can be done and what can't be done. Like I said, I understand the property can't be dug up to fix all of that, but to understand really what's under there and what's going on and where the issues may lie. Maybe it may be one unit that you can move off and dig up and at least open up to have some type of collection system, or I don't know how plumbing works, you know what I'm saying? But but let's just really see what's going on with it at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Stop putting a Band-Aid over it, sound like.
Just, let me introduce myself. I'm Wendy Glenn. I'm the Ward 8 Office Manager for the Mayor's Office. And I wanted to ask this gentleman right here. He seems to know a lot about maintenance issues and concerns. I wanted to ask if he was a member of the Tenants Association first. Number two, because I believe that no one's coming to save us but us. I live by that theory. And if we have the intelligentsia here to be able to help the management and to be able to help and be proactive, then I think that when there is a time that maybe you all can set up another meeting to say, show him what's going on. let him walk around and see what's going on. If he has the knowledge base, even if it's a little, he can speak to his neighbors because you're not gonna always be here. And I'm very solutions oriented. I like to come to a meeting and listen first intently and then speak. So I've listened to this young man, I've listened to the issues that are going on, and if he has some understanding based on what his career set is and what his skill set is, then allow him to work with the maintenance gentleman right here and say, you know, well, that might not work because this is what's happening in my, you know, I shouldn't have to go from door to door to door to not. Let's see what's going on. If he can look and see that there is a problem, then allow him to be an advocate for his fellow residents.
Yeah.
You know, and not so much on the outside of the issue. That's all I wanted to say.
Could you have a comment? So DOE chief here, I do have two of my lead inspectors here, and I accessed the database. It looked like we've only received 3 mold inspections from this property. So maybe it's an education and awareness thing that they're not sure who to contact, but we're here, we're able to gather names, possibly do some walkthroughs. I only got 2 staff, so we can't obviously look at the whole building. But knowing the fact about it, that we're here and that's what we do. But it looks like we only received 3 mold inspections. Requests from this entire community. So I do want to get your address too, as well. We do have yours and Ms. Hawkins. So, and I'm going to go back to your unit, Ms. Hawkins, just to see. No, okay. Okay, we have the report for you. Okay.
And then just while we're here, one of my other concerns is it's about to be the rainy season. And again, the units along the line of my units, I'm concerned now because 2 of the units are empty. And part of me being able to stop some of the issues early was having someone in the unit that was saying, okay, my toilet is backing up and I can run, you know, say this and that. So now nobody's in the units. I'm kind of concerned that it's going to be an issue in another one of the units. And I'm not going to be able to get to it fast enough before it starts to.
So I think we're going to try to quickly set up this inspection of the piping if we could. Yeah, if you can, and that would be helpful because they did put in the application to get some funds to help with that. So it would be helpful if you could pass on.
So just for clarity, we're looking at the proactive is each individual unit, and then Peter will look at the plan or the drawings that was submitted by the construction team. Yes. Okay.
Can I ask a question? I don't live here, but I just want to ask a question. I believe I heard you say something about the windows. It was historical windows and y'all couldn't touch them. Y'all was told by somebody. Who is the somebody? You know, that's first and foremost. Y'all put out information, but you really don't give out information. My thing is, I don't live here, but I'm a president of Marbury Plaza, Tenant United for Change. My thing is, you say historical, Black Lives Matter, Plaza was historical, but they tore that down. See, I get in my feelings when it's a whole lot of bull crap, because it seemed to me you said something about taxes. It seems like it's about money. What's more important, people's lives or money? So it doesn't matter where you live at. Everybody's supposed to have a decent place to live. I'm not saying everything on management. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. Because we do got some tenants that would tear up the buildings, don't care where they live at. So y'all need to fix that. It got to be something. It got to be accountability on everybody's part. Not only management, but tenants too. If you get a write-up, 2 or 3 write-ups, and you still tearing up the property, you got to go. Fix it. Stop complaining about it and fix the issue. Because I am tired of living the way that I'm living. Yes, I'm mad. I'm furious. I done been over here before. And management treated me like they didn't want me here because I came to a meeting to support people. And a lot of people said, Miss Cooper, what you doing here? I'm going everywhere.
That's right.
I'm going everywhere because it's a nationwide thing. It's a nationwide thing. And what's so sad about it is black people. I'm not discriminating, sweetheart, but it's more black people suffering in D.C. than anybody everywhere. So what is we gonna do? We sit here, we give people suggestions. Our suggestions not good enough. You know why? Because it might be better than yours.
That's right.
What you doing ain't working. So try something different, just like this young man said. What's wrong? If you do it, we'll back you. You got the people. Step forward. Fear not. Jesus. I'm irritated. Fix it.
Also, historical preservation doesn't say anything about not being able to weatherproof the windows. It actually has extensive, it lays out what you can do to weatherproof the windows, and I printed that out this last year when I was at a meeting with ABC. So, weatherproofing windows should not be a problem for historical preservation. Also, some of the windows on this property have been replaced by new windows, so it's unclear why historical preservation is sometimes used as an excuse to some tenants. So
you better tell it.
Yeah.
So we discussed that. So
We've already discussed that. We're looking.
let me do this.
But
So
no,
Ms.
she still
Cooper
didn't
is
answer the question. Who said that they couldn't do it? Who was it? The owner? Who was it? The government? Who was it? The president? Who was it? Jesus?
I'm gonna let them respond, and then I'm gonna respond.
Come on, y'all, get
you said you
real.
can't change the windows.
So this is a historic property, so this is the Commission on Fine Arts and also the Office of Historic Preservation, because we are on a historic campus.
So, what Ms. Cooper, frustrations obviously incredibly valid, but also somewhat predictive of what happens if we don't course correct now, right? Conditions at a building at some point will be so severe that it's hard to figure out how to recover from. That's not where we are here, right? Sometimes relationships will be so bad that you can't recover. I don't think that's where we are here. And so I think the point today is course correction. None of us can go back and fix the tenant issues, the emotional issues in the back, but I think if we are steadfast enough going forward, those things will start to repair. So nobody needs to forget what's happened, but I think we've got to be focused on repairing now. So we have some specific after actions. What I'm going to ask is we move expeditiously on these next steps, and then we reconvene virtually maybe in either 6 or 8 weeks. That'll make sure we stay on the same page. So we have next steps on the windows, where management is taking the lead. We have next steps on the flooding and drainage, where DOB is working with management on that. We have next steps on mold, where DOEE is working with tenants and management on next steps there. If anybody has rent increases that they believe are not aligned with what was stated in this meeting, then reach out to my office and we can look at that. Rodents, it sounds like you've made some shifts, so if people still have issues, they'll let management know.
Right, no, you just, but do you feel like they've addressed all that you came here to have addressed?
Excellent. And then management will lead the next steps on communication.
This is you all's meeting, don't get caught up in the
with
politics of
residents,
everything.
with the tenant
This is
association.
you all's
with
meeting,
the
okay? You set the standard.
And the Commissioner Loco.
So I have two questions. One is, I know we're moving forward with fixing some of the current conditions. And if there are residents who are currently living in adverse conditions, what happens to their quality of life in the meantime? Because if someone's dealing with mold currently, it's not going to be fixed tonight. And so is there any way to compensate, move them, or whatever the case may be for people who have flooding currently?
Great question. So I think that our statutes articulate that. So my recollection is that there's a certain amount of mold, you got to move. They got to move it. And it's already probably prescribed in law whose financial responsibility that is. If it's a small amount and it's relatively easy to abate, then they set up an abatement process. And if anybody has any issues, and it seems like it's not clear from DOEE or management, let my office know and we'll work to get things on the right track.
And the second thing is, they haven't said this, but what it sounds like to me is about saying you don't want to forget what has happened. in looking at what has happened, in order to move forward, is there any way to compensate or repair the damages that have been done as people try to move forward? If there is psychological damage that's been done, or health damage, how can that be addressed?
That is a legal question. There's probably no legal, I mean, depending on severity, that's a legal question. That's a legal question. But in terms of the powers that I have and that everybody in this room has collectively, we can address the things going forward. And then we will, my office will work with everybody here to set up a follow-up meeting in 6 or 8 weeks for us to check in.
Ms. Renee,
I'd
go ahead.
also like to say, I don't know if everyone else's time is limited, however, we are available to walk and inspect with DOEE. We like to see any units that are experiencing any intrusion or mold or water damage, if we can take a look after the meeting concludes.
And I was also going to just add, any resident that's here, if you want to leave your name, your department number, your contact information, and what you are experiencing, and then we can contact you all on an individual basis after the meeting to address.
Well, my lawyer reached out to you on Friday, and no one has talked to her at all.
So I think it's clear that there's some disconnect. But
Yeah.
if you would check in with your lawyers
She
today.
said nobody has talked to her.
Okay.
I'll let you all today. Get that on you.
Yep.
I just want to mention, I'm here from the Office of the Tenant Advocate, and if you all want some assistance with forming a tenant association, I have some flyers with that. And as well, we do offer free legal and technical advice and answer some of the questions that you asked that Councilman White said they are prescribed, so certain things are not on this level as far as when it comes to a landlord-tenant relationship, but that would be in another jurisdiction. But I'm here to help you all form your tenant association. We can come and do a 3-part class. And you can come to me directly now. I can leave you the literature so you can do that.
And DOE, I think, has some flyers.
Yes, I do have some flyers for the tenants that give you proper instructions on oversight over and how to submit a mold complaint. So I'll leave this for you all to grab.
Council, Mike, I want to say, I'm not going to be long, I promise. I just want to say this to y'all. I get very emotional because I've been through a lot. And it's not just me. It's a lot of people. Don't take it personal. But if you haven't lived the way we live, then you would never understand how we feel. And it's an emotional thing. You understand? It's a mental thing. I go through changes because of the way y'all allowing people to make us live. And I'm tired of it. So either y'all gonna fix it, or what's the point of coming together if we can't pull together? And I think it's tension between management and the tenants association. Y'all need to work through that thing. Because I've been sitting here and I've been peeking the moves and I've been peeking the eye movements and the motivation of your body. So your body language and your eyes mean a lot. So y'all need to fix that too. Because it's not going to work if y'all can't work together. And that's all Miss Cooper got to say. And you will see me everywhere. And I will say the same thing over and over. We got to pull together and stop tearing each other down.
Ms. Hubbard.
Last will certainly not leave parking. We've been trying to work, we came up with a workaround. We presented it to property management, and we haven't seen any traction on it. Because this area is not zoned yet, the streets haven't been turned over to the city for it to be properly zoned, which is why the parking meters aren't working. But as everybody can see, we have ESA across the street, and we have city going over. So whenever there's an event, we don't have anywhere to park. I got a $250 ticket this Saturday because I had to park in the parking lot that I don't pay for parking for because there's no parking on the street because of the events. So we suggested a workaround that property management issue 2 different types of stickers, which would be decals for the tenants. One color would be for people who pay for parking, and one color would be for just tenants who don't. But at least it would give parking enforcement some sort of workaround to enforce parking. There's a whole garage over there for both of those venues. So that was our suggestion about parking.
You brought that up to me, and I said, well, we would look at doing something similar to what they do around other stadiums. But I also recommended RPP, and we've talked about this a couple of times with the tenants here about, doing RPP parking for this area.
What is RPP?
Well, you have to do residential permit parking, but you have to get enough signatures to do so.
You can get zone, I think you petition the
But you
city.
petition the city.
We will, we'll follow.
Yeah.
That'll be a DDOT question, but let us connect you with DDOT, both on RPP and the workaround.
I'll work with them on that.
Thank you. All right, thank you to everybody, first and foremost, the tenants. I know it feels like a lot of times you come to things, you speak up and nothing happens. That's not the way things should happen here. That's one of the reasons I make sure we have follow-up action plans and a follow-up meeting. I want to thank the agencies for being here, for jumping in and volunteering for some of the next steps. Ownership and management company, I think as you all see, everybody's in the same boat right now, so we need this boat to lift, and I think everybody's on the same page. Thank you all for coming to listen with open ears, and I stand ready, and I know our agencies stand ready to assist us as you need us as well. Thank you all. Thank you.
Work together now, you hear?
Hey guys, over here in
Y'all
Water,
working
Southeast
every
DC,
day,
we
yeah.
have to stay on them. We need you
All right,
guys
y'all,
to
come on,
join the
take
fight.
this, take this.
Wait till they leave.
What?
Wait till they
What?
leave. No, wait till
Girl,
they leave.
God
baby.
say move with
Let's
me.
do, because they gonna swear that's what we was here for. Give them a minute and then you greet them. Hey guys, it's your girl, We over here in Ward 8 and Miss Cooper taking over. Miss Cooper taking over. Bless you. This was good. Yeah,
Let's come in together, cuz. No, come in together.
You was like that. You was good girl. Send me the picture we took. I love her. When she here, I don't even have to speak. I love it.
Okay, thank you, baby.
Hey guys, it's your girl and we
This
are
our next
working.
man.
How you doing?
That's what this
Nice
about.
to meet you, my
This
baby.
ain't next week.
All right, guys.
Really? Okay.
Yes,
Same
yes.
time.
Okay,
For real. I like what you said, yes.
Yeah.
Because we tired of this. Send it to me.
Yeah, send it to me. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let's take our seat back.
Y'all want y'all two together?